What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining for today's recap session. So today has been slightly better than the last few days. We've had some action. Of course, the entire morning was very quiet. Nothing was moving in the way that I felt like I could take a trade on. And as I was about to press record and do this video, we had FTEL pop up. And it's just such a nice relief to see some volume and some momentum coming in. And of course, what tends to happen is because of that mindset of being defensive, you can't trust these moves and you may end up missing those moves, that initial few stocks that pop up. And a lot of FOMO tends to set in the market. And then that's when we then start getting more of a rally. Not saying that this is any indication that there's a shift in momentum, but it's just nice to see something not being beaten down so much. I think FTEL put in a good move. We'll quickly jump on the screen share and analyze it, analyze the trade I took anyway. But otherwise, yeah, it's just been another quiet morning. It was going to be a no trade day until this popped up. So I'll just share my screen very quickly here. Before we look at FTEL, wanted to look at another stock that was popping up, RCT, which was the one that I was keeping an eye on. I felt like in this area there was a bit of a move that I perhaps an opportunity to take a move, but of course it's in the shadow of this really long wick, which means that the stock was pushed up on very light volume, but then was quickly, as they started taking profit, there was not enough buyers to support any of these levels, and then it based out in this area. But then it gave us this rally up, but again, it's just very difficult to trust. So I was watching it as it broke through the VWAP again and back up, and I was watching it in this area, and I was watching the high of this candle to make a new high, but then it did a complete reversal. So dodged the bullet on that one. Of course, it was technically, if you wanted to be really quite defensive, then you should have really watched it above 270. A bit like FTEL, which is obviously what's been popping up at the moment. So what is the news with FTEL? Oh, I can see they've had a filing as well. So they announced the news about a $50 million stablecoin financing, and in order to invest in AI-driven blah blah blah, whatever that may be. But the nice thing is, so what it did, it popped up on news, then it sold off. I was about to write it off, and then I watched it come back up again. So I watched it come through this resistance level, do this sort of a curl up, broke through this resistance level around 347, and this here would have been a perfect opportunity to take a position entry. I was in fact watching it and I wanted to punch it, but I hesitated too long because then it just surged right up, and it was really nice to see. It was the first time I've seen in the last few days that something surging up all the way to 375, 70, 75, and then 475. It then held this level, and it did another, like a sort of a micro pullback, and then another surge up. But as you can see, quite a few topping tails here now, and that usually is an indication of a reversal coming our way. I was done watching it in this level here. I bought the dip in this area at 452, and I sold it as it popped for 467. There was still a lot of buying happening, and some few big orders were coming in. Let me just take a screenshot of my position because it's very small. And I was watching it in that area, and yeah, I mean, it was a one trade, very small. I went in with 5 shares, again keeping size small. Technically it's quarter position, so it's sort of that mentality of keeping small share sizes, but I was able to capture a good few cents. So we're looking at 15 cents approximately, I think. Is it 15 cents? Yes. So 50 to 60, and then 60. So yeah, about 15 cents. That's not bad. with small size, I guess if you're keeping your if I'm keeping my risk in check, then that makes sense. So let's just have a look at this. So if I got in a 452, high and low of this candle were 436 and high of it was 474. So I suppose if when I got in at 452, which was in around this area, then that would have the low of this candle would have been my, I suppose, my stop loss position, if you want to call it that. But anyway, I'm glad I managed to get one trade in. I mean, I was happy to accept it as a no trade day, but obviously there was an opportunity to jump in on this. We are now on the backside of that backside of it now. The MACD is crossed over and is closed on the negative, and obviously we are now below the VWAP as I'm looking at it now. And it was really nice just to see the price action on level 2 and seeing the tape, a lot of green coming in, a lot of hitting the ask. So yeah, it's nice to see that. Anyway, I hope you enjoy that quick recap. There is just not a lot to unpick here, really. It's just a case of a game of waiting and being patient and for the right thing to pop up. And just making sure you don't get caught in any of those early moves. I think that's the key here. It may mean that you might miss out on some opportunities, but it's better to protect your capital. I've learned it the hard way. You keep making the same mistakes over and over, then at some point you're going to stop making that mistake. And look, I'm not saying that I'm not going to get caught up in that initial pop once in a while. But as long as I keep my share size in check, then hopefully I should avoid any big losses. But so far, touch wood, it's been going okay. Anyway, let's see what tomorrow holds. Tomorrow's Friday, last day of the week, and last day of the trading week, first week of November. Yeah, it's been all right. It's not been great. It's just been sideways, I suppose. Anyway, stay green, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.